Hello, I'm Jennifer Steck with Artburst Studios, and I'm your host today. And we're so glad that you're here. These live events are always really exciting because I love listening to artists talk about their passion, talk about their work, and especially when we're approaching a show and we get a chance to see teasers of their work and hear them talk about specific pieces. It's always really a lot of fun, very informative, and we really get to know the artists and their stories. So we have the Reflect Show coming up in about 3 weeks, and oh my gosh, we have 20 artists. We have almost 200 works of original art available in many different voices and different styles and different mediums. We think you're going to absolutely love the collection of work that's available. So the show opens on June 19th at 10 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time, and it opens on the Artburst Studios website. So you can be at home in your jammies with your favorite beverage and looking at beautiful art. So don't forget to save the date, June 19th, 10 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time on artburststudios.com. So today we're thrilled to introduce you to three of those 20 artists who are showing with Artburst Studios for the very first time. And we're so thrilled to show you their work and to introduce them to you. So Dariana Dervis, Kate Ferrell, and Nina Alderete are here this morning with us. Our first featured artist this morning is Dariana Dervis. So, Dariana, good morning.
Good morning, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we're just so delighted you're here. And behind the scenes, we've had an opportunity to see some truly incredible work from you. I can't wait for everyone to see it. Tell us about you and your artistic journey.
I live in Birmingham, Alabama, and I studied art in school. I experimented with a lot of different mediums, and I love collage. I started making these daily journals after I graduated, and so I would do a collage every day. It was just a way to experiment and play and not have any, it was just for me. Like didn't have any plan of showing it. So it was really like themes started to emerge. And if I loved something, I would go back and, play with it again and sort of develop it. And so I just started seeing themes start to emerge. And it really, school was just the best environment for me. It was such a great decision for me personally. But then when I got out of school, I felt like, I don't know, this journal sort of helped me find my voice and more confidence around my art. And then it enabled me to start showing my work to the public. So that's kind of how I started.
Nice. And do you have those journals over the years so you can watch the progress as it has occurred?
I was going to say, I still have those journals, and I have twice since then done a daily collage for a year, which now I can't even believe I did that. I just did Febrelage this last February, one a month, one every day for a month. And, it's a lot, but at the end of that month or at the end of that year, you have this body of work that it's like, wow. And they're not all great, I mean, every day it's not going to be great. But it's valuable to show up every day. I think that's what I learned. It's valuable to show up. So
Oh, it isn't that the truth? And I wonder if creating every day also takes away the intimidation factor.
uh,
When you see like a blank page and you're not sure what you want to start with, or, you get really critical about what you're doing. Does that help you just plow right in and go for it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that was part of it was just, when you have that blank page, it can be intimidating. But yeah, it changes it because it makes it I'm gonna say not so precious, but just you're just playing and creating, and then the things that aren't working, may turn into something wonderful, but they may not start out that way. So yeah, it takes any angst or I mean, it's just the creative process, it just boils it down to what the magic and the fun of the creative process, really is. So yeah, it was a great experience for me.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I would love to take a peek into those journals. I can imagine it would be inspiring and that you can use them as resources as you go along on things that worked well that you want to try again. So I think that's beautiful. So can you tell us about your process?
Yeah, so I really am old school analog collage. So I use, scissors and an X-Acto and glue, and I have this antique cabinet with all these drawers in it, and I collect all these little pieces of paper and things that I find, outside, little skeleton leaves or insect wings or whatever. And they're all in this cabinet. And then what I do is if I have an idea for something, I'll go through and just start looking, and anything that catches my eye, I'll pull it out. And then there's something about working with my hands that I really enjoy and just the tactile quality of things. So when I put it on my work table, I can start to see patterns and color and shapes. And so that's when it starts to, like something starts to happen, sparks my imagination. And then your left brain can kind of stop working as much and your right brain can take over. And so that's when that being in the flow of the creative process is so much fun. And your brain is making these decisions. I mean, I'm making these little micro decisions, but it's it's kind of magic. I mean, really. So so it's really fun for me. I enjoy it.
Oh, good. Now, what do you love most about working with collage and what else gets added to your pieces as they develop?
There's something about, that trash to treasure thing. Like I think objects have energy of their own and they have a story already. And so if I'm using those, it's like I'm just building on the story that, they already hold. And so when I'm putting them all together, it's just creating a new story. It's kind of like the sum of the parts is greater than each one individually, and each one individually might be, might not look like a lot, but then it gets reinvented and made into something that can be really beautiful. And I think, we live in a throwaway kind of society. And so it's really satisfying for me to make something kind of out of nothing, and I love going to estate sales and yard sales, and finding all kinds of stuff. And, there's no shortage of stuff, but um, you know, it's I'm not a minimalist, as you can see by my background.
Well, I've got to say, collecting all of those things, those can add up.
They do. But I do find like things have there's sort of a time frame sometimes for things like something might be really inspiring, and if I wait too long, it sort of loses its, I don't know. I'm not sure what that is, but so sometimes I feel like I can give it away and it's okay or pass it on or whatever. And then sometimes I'll have something that I've carried with me through 3 or 4 moves and I'll finally use it and think, oh, I'm so glad I kept that piece, because it is perfect right here. So you just,
They all have their time, don't they?
they do. Yeah.
So Mary says, yes, objects do have energy of their own. So So, is your process, would you describe it as intuitive? Do you plan out what you're going to create, or is it something in between that?
I usually have an idea, and then I don't plan everything out and sketch everything and make sure I know how it's gonna, because I don't know how it's gonna look, but I sort of have an idea, and then I'll do that process of sort of gathering things that sort of spark my interest, and then I'll start putting it together. And I work on a lot of different things at the same time so that when I get stuck on one thing, I'll go to another thing that I do know what to do with. And so that feels like, it can keep me going. And I find like, sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I'll know what to do with a certain piece. Like it takes time to create something. And, it's like all the pieces for me aren't there when I first start, but they sort of build on each other. And it's like, oh, I know what to do, or I have a direction and I'll start on that until I get stuck again or, and move on to the next one. So,
Yeah,
um,
I think that's beautiful. Do you have some pieces you'd like to share with us today?
I
We'd love
do.
to see them and love to hear about them.
Okay. Well, this piece is, I think it's the only three-dimensional piece. Let me back up. There we go. So this one's called the Messenger, and it's a little, so this box, a friend of mine, her brother made it, and she out of scrap wood, and she wasn't sure what to do with it. And I said, "Oh, can I have that?" And
Oh
she
my
said,
goodness, it's
"Sure."
beautiful.
And so it's this little fox from, I don't, it's a wreath. It's called a Dresden wreath, which I didn't really know what that was, but it has all these brass little animals, but it's supposed to be like an all-season wreath. And so this little fox was part of it. And I have been doing tree of life things lately. Like that has just been really, I don't know, stuck in my well, it's a theme I've been revisiting a lot. So he's like walking in front of this landscape, and then down here is this little golden acorn with
Wow.
these little pins that I was thinking were like little stars, and these oak
Beautiful.
leaves that are made out of handmade paper. So yeah,
Wow, I love the depth of the piece. Does that piece sit on a shelf or does it hang?
it is going to hang or sit, whichever. Yeah.
Oh, sounds great. Oh, lovely.
Thank you. So this one, I found these are little bird cards like from the early 1900s. And when you bought baking soda from Arm& and Hammer, they would put these like little trading cards in there. And on the back is information about the bird. And this is a flicker. This is the Alabama state bird and it's a woodpecker. And so these cards, I found these in an antique store and I just fell in love with them. I had no idea how I was going to use them. But yeah, so I've eco-dyed this paper in the background. I think these are maple leaves in the background. And then a lot of times I'll use deer. So it's like he's up in the tree and down below is this wonderful little
Well,
scene.
the frame is perfect with it. It fits so well.
Thank you. The frame I think is an extension of the art. So they often um have their own story and I find antique frames. So they're not perfect, but I feel like they're perfect with the piece.
Yeah.
Um, perfect as in like no scratches or, I mean, it has a life, it's had a life of its own. So,
Yes. So
anyway.
Kate says, beautiful piece. And then she loved the leaves in the other piece that they were really intriguing to her. So, yeah. Oh, beautiful work. Beautiful work.
This one's called the Portal, and you can see why. So I hand cut all of those branches and the leaves and these little deer, and you can see this little tiny little deer here. And I don't think I didn't actually use the sewing machine on this one. Sometimes I do sew around the sun or the moon.
So
So,
Mary said making frame the extension of the art is a great idea. And Kate says she loves the contrast in this one.
oh, thank you. So,
Oh, thank you for sharing those.
um,
And you have even more pieces that will be available during the show. Are there any final words you have for us? Anything that that we may not have covered that you would love to express to everyone?
just that I have loved making these pieces, and I sort of think like, the process of art when someone buys the art, it's such an honor, and it's like the circle is kind of complete with it. So I'm just so happy to be in the show and to have these pieces that mean a lot to me. So yeah.
Welcome. And we are so excited that you're going to be part of this show amongst so many amazing artists. And I can't wait for everybody to see your work. So thank you, Dariana, and we'll see you here in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
Wow, wow. Isn't it amazing? There's something about listening to the artist. I always get, I don't know, there's something about learning more about their story that really adds to the richness of their art. So let's welcome Kate Farrell to this morning's meeting. Kate, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So can you lean in a little closer or speak just a tad louder for us?
Sure, happy to. Is
Oh, perfect.
that okay?
Wow, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
Good. So you've been preparing for months now for
I
this.
have, yes. I was so honored to be accepted into the show and I've been really busy.
I'll bet you have. I'll bet you have. So tell us more about you and your artistic journey.
Sure. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm from Knoxville in East Tennessee. And I've always been a creative person. Growing up, went to art camp instead of sports camps and did dance and piano and choir. So just the arts are always have always been a part of my life. And in college, I took every single class that I could fill my schedule with in art history or studio art. So I was really grateful that I had some AP credit so I didn't have to take any science classes and could just focus on the things that I love and that I'm better at than science. Um, I didn't major in art. I didn't really have a clear path for what a career in art could look like at the time. But looking back, I think that that was the right decision because I was able to kind of come around to it later in life to become a working artist. I ended up studying German, which is a little bit strange, I guess. And I have a master's degree in social work. So outside of the studio, I practice social work, providing whole person healthcare to people who don't have insurance in the Nashville area. So my artwork really balances out that other work. And I'll tell you a little more about how I think that they're related. But yeah, I started showing my art recently, but I've been working my whole life doing art.
Have you found that art has been kind of a safe space for you? That working in social work, it seems to me from the outside looking in that it can be something that is stressful, that you make a difference in people's lives, but there's also moments when it's just overwhelming. And how does art help with that part of the journey?
Yes, I agree with you about all of that. I love what I do, and I'm grateful to be at a place where it does give me life most of the time. I'm working with my team and my patients, but it can be really hard. And there's a lot of sadness that we hear about. And when I'm practicing in my studio, it's one of the things that kind of gives me life and energy. So it's a way to fill my cup so that I can hopefully go back into my social work practice and be there for my clients and patients.
Can you tell us about your process and how things have developed over the years for you and your artwork?
Sure. My process right now is mostly intuitive. So if I'm doing an abstract piece, I might have a color in mind, but I might not even have anything in mind before I jump in. I usually start making marks on the canvas or the paper, and I'll add in some collage elements and just kind of respond to what I see. So it can be frustrating at times when you look at it and it looks like a total mess. And then sometimes you get to the point where, and I do think for me anyways, I've heard other artists say the same thing, where a lot of times it has to go through that ugly stage and you keep pushing and keep working on it. But it's fun. In my most other areas of my life, I'm pretty type A. I like to have a plan. I like to know what's going to happen. And so I really appreciate my art practice is a place for me to just kind of let loose and explore and try to get out of my head. Sometimes doesn't work, but just kind of respond, like I said, respond to what's on the canvas and see what might happen and try something, and it may or may not work, but yeah. And then when I have a landscape that I'm doing, it's still, for the most part, intuitive. I don't necessarily have a plan, but of course, I'll have a horizon line. If I'm doing a commission, I might have a specific request from the collector to paint a specific place. And so I'll do that. But other times I'll just kind of create something.
Yes. What do you love about working in abstracts?
Abstracted landscapes. I love the fact that it's not necessarily a real place. And as lovely as it is when someone paints a real place, I always admire people that can paint realistically, because that's not my gift. um, but for abstracted landscapes, I love the fact that it might help someone think about a time that they went to a similar place or saw something similar, or it might just draw their attention into the piece, whether it's because of the colors or the composition or other elements of the piece. So kind of leaves it open to interpretation.
It does. It does. So Aiden says, "Oh my goodness, can absolutely relate, Kate, being a psychologist."
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Uh, on the landscapes, can you talk just a little bit more about that? It could be about any place.
Sure. For example, I created a lot of mountain scenes for this collection. I was not painting or creating a specific mountain, so they don't have a specific reference. They're all different in terms of the mountain peaks, the placement, the number of peaks, the shape and size, the colors. There are two or three that are companion pieces, but you can't look at that and say that's Mount Helena or something, because it's not. I mean, it could be if you want it to be, but that wasn't the intent. So
Yeah, I mean, I love that part of it that people will approach it in a totally different way depending upon who the person is. And
mhm,
I think that gives us some freedom as viewers to kind of participate in the art.
exactly.
Yes. Now you have some pieces to share with us today as well.
Yes, I've got a lot of them behind me. I'll just show you a couple. This one is part of a series and it has a larger companion piece, but I thought I would show this one. It might be a little easier to see on the screen. One of the mountain scenes that I mentioned. I'll see if I can show you some detail. It's got a lot of layers. A lot of the darker colors are underneath so that they're kind of popping through once the lighter colors are layered on top. And I usually use either charcoal or graphite or other mark making tools almost always. So my work is not just paint. It's got a lot of different elements.
Well, I
So
love the road that goes in that really invites us in to step into the painting. It's beautiful. I love the
thank
colors as
you.
well.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Oh,
Um, I've got the abstract that I'm
yes.
showing my shows in the background. I'm not going to take it off the wall, but it's back there. And then this is a little mini that I created for the show. I have something this size on my kitchen counter, just kind of in a nook. So I try to have art, and I do have art in every room in my house. I'm a collector too, so I love to create and I love to collect art, but this is a fun piece. You can put it on a bookshelf or hang it on the wall or set it on a table or something. So
So
I like the
Dariana
piece.
says, beautiful, Kate.
Oh, thank you. This is,
Oh,
yeah, it's a
that's
canvas, and
lovely.
I usually paint all around the sides. It's just fun. Sometimes things will drip down on the bottom, and then it just kind of gives it another element of interest. So,
It does. Well, and when you have it hanging on a wall in a room, you're
mhm.
also seeing the sides as you approach from different areas of the room. So it's
Yeah,
kind of fun that it wraps around.
yeah, so exactly. And it could be framed, but I don't frame mine that I have like that because I like to look at the sides.
Yeah, you and me both. Well, you have pieces in a variety of sizes. So if
I
somebody's
do.
looking for a statement piece, clearly you have that. And then if
Mhm.
somebody's looking for a piece for that little nook that needs a little bit of brightening, you have work for that as well.
Yes, I do. I try to create lots of different sizes so people would have options.
Yes, yes. Okay, is there anything else that you would like for art lovers to know about you and your work?
Just my love for nature infuses everything that I do. I might not be painting nature, but I'm really inspired by nature. I grew up going to the mountains, and both of my parents have gardens in our backyard. So I was always surrounded by plants and nature. And so, yeah, that's kind of one of the things that underlies everything that I do. And also mindfulness just in my work as a social worker. And then I also teach mindfulness-based fitness classes, and so all three of those um, with my artwork. It's a underlying theme for all three. I have three jobs.
Sorry, I can see how they can fit together.
Yeah, they do. I practice social work part-time, so if it was 40 hours, that would be probably too much. But yeah, they all do fit together quite nicely and kind of feed off each other. So
Sounds good. Well, you have a gorgeous collection, Kate, and we are
so
just
much.
thrilled that you're joining us.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
I know we're on countdown for sure. So, all right, sounds good. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you. So, if you're just joining us now, we have three fabulous artists with us today. One of the things that we really love about Artburst is the fact that you can connect with the artists. And what do I mean by that? You have access to their websites, to their social media accounts. If there's an artist that you find that you absolutely adore, don't forget to follow their journey. Dariana talked about the journals that started way back. Even Kate's been doing work for a long time, and Nina, who will meet shortly, same kind of thing. They've got a lot of history working in different things together. And as artists develop, they continue to grow. And so it's always really fun to follow along on their journeys and to see how their art has evolved over the time. So we highly encourage you to subscribe to their newsletters, to get in touch with them if you have questions, because they're amazing people and you're definitely going to want to know them. So certainly, last but not least, we're so excited to wrap up today's lineup with Nina Alderete. Nina is also an artist that is new to Artburst this time. We were so intrigued when we saw her work. We just knew that we needed to get her on board because we knew that all of you would love her and her work just as much as we do. So, hi, Nina.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
We're so happy you're here as well. So, tell us about how your creative journey began and how it led to where you are today.
Well, it's definitely been a journey. I went to school for art. I have my MFA in painting. And when I graduated, I needed a break. And I kind of looked up and 20 years went by and I had kind of just stopped making art. I'd make jewelry here or there, a painting here and there, but it really wasn't part of my everyday life. And before the pandemic, maybe about 5 years ago, I signed up for a collage class with some of my really good friends, and we were sitting there and I was tearing paper and making something with my hands. And I thought, I'm going to start painting again. And I had been saying that for years, but I just never did it. And I just sat down and I started it felt safe to start with collage. And I thought I was just going to do collage, put acrylic paint on, and just kind of go from there. And I started seeing like who I was in the past started popping back up. So old me had tons of text in my art. There was lots of embroidery and stitching and women's clothing. And it kind of started moving from painting to more installation art. And it was very thought out. Every little piece was thought out ahead of time. And then when I started doing collage, I thought, oh, I'll just be intuitively working, putting down whatever I feel like fits together. And I found I had to start bringing those pieces back. So I ended up adding text back in. I ended up adding stitching back in. I ended up putting beads back in, and layers. So I learned to paint with layers a long time ago with cold wax, that if I painted on really thin layers, I could build up this kind of movement and depth.
Yeah.
That was a little unpredictable. And so I see old me and new me in my collage paintings now, but it's definitely been a process and a journey. And now I make art most days of the week, and it feels really good.
I'll bet. Isn't it funny how things circle around, and it waits till the time is right for things to finally come together. So you work in so many different mediums.
So many.
How do you do that? I mean, that's a lot to be adding on the wax and the thread and so all of those different kinds of textures in your work.
So I developed my own like process.
Mhm.
So when I go to make kind of a painting collection, I work 12 to 16 paintings at a time, and I know every single step I'm going to do along the way on each painting. So I will start out and I will do every single step on each painting before I move on. And because I now have this laid out process where I know what's going to happen, I don't have to think about it, which really allows me to be intuitive and in that moment. So in the beginning, when I'm building my collage figures, I'm thinking, how do I feel about this placement? How do I feel about the textures or the patterns in the collage pieces? And I don't have this story that I'm really like thinking about. I'm just thinking about, I know what I'm doing right now and how am I feeling about it. And that's been really freeing. I know step one is kind of building my collage figures, and then I will go and I will paint the background really subtly. And then at some point I will sit there and I will look at the figure, and I try not to overthink it, but I write down text. So I have handwritten text on each of my paintings, and I call them word halos because they typically surround different pieces, like pieces of the body. And that handwritten text is more of a response to the figure. And then at some point I have type text that goes on, and that type text is kind of, I think of it more like poetry, like it's like maybe the next line down. So it's not quite directly responding to what was said before. But for me, when the text goes on, it really changes the painting and it gives it a direction to go in. So when I start, I don't have this idea of who my collage figure is going to be, how they feeling, what they want to be. It doesn't really change till the text goes on.
Now, one of the things that I find fascinating about your work is the figures have no heads. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
um, so I don't know when this happened in the process, but at some point, I chopped off one of their heads and I didn't look back. Now they are all been replaced. I kind of call them head replacement people. They the figures to me really feel very static, and they're kind of like these little paper doll people. You don't really know who they are, what they want. Is it really what they want, or were they told to be that way? And when I put on this new head, that's an object. It kind of gives a clue about who they are or what they're thinking of. It gives them a different emotion that really you can't really, I think it gives more emotion than if it was an expression on a face. So it's just kind of giving you like this look into this inside world of who they are.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think that was one of the surprising things for me. And I love the addition of the text on the work. It adds just another type of mark and another meaning. How do you decide what those final words are going to be? And do you type them out? Do you print them out? Do you find words that already exist and add them? How does that work?
So about halfway through is when I figure out what my handwritten and typed text are going to be. And I really try not to like fiddle with it and replace it throughout the process. But I do have a really old, I think 1930s underwood typewriter. So I have like that nice like clickety clack old typewriter.
Or you have
And
to really press the key
I
to.
love it. But one of the amazing aspects of old typewriters because you can put different kinds of paper behind it. So as long as you have silks or really thin paper secured on something a little more sturdy, you can type onto it. And that's what I'm doing is I'm typing onto architectural tracing paper.
Wow. Wow. I think that's amazing. So how do you find your materials?
Um,
Oh, there's a story here I can
yeah,
tell.
I mean, um, I feel like it's kind of like if you're a person who likes estate sales and like thrifting and like walking along and picking up the pretty leaf and rock, that's kind of how I feel about my collage materials. I now have a huge collection that I have found at estate sales, at thrift stores. People have given them to me. It's definitely a range of really old women's fashion magazines from like the 20s through 50s. I'm really fascinated by old medical and science texts. So a lot of that will show up in there. And I think a lot when I put stuff like that in, like, wonder how accurate this still is. I mean, what does that mean now if it's not accurate and I'm putting that in? Like, how is that changing the meaning? So some days when I'm not ready to paint, I'll go through all my magazines and I'll sit down with a collection of 20 magazines and I'll just tear pages, knowing that I love something on that page. And I will spend 2 to 5 days cutting out pieces. And then I can like pull it out and say, like, I love this shell. I love this balloon. I love this old chair. And then I'll organize them into boxes. So I have my people box, my animal box, my flora box, my landscape box. So when I'm actually ready to sit down and start making my paintings, I can just pull from them.
Yes, yes. So Dariana says, I understand the collecting. I love hearing about your process. I think at some point in time, the two of you need to get together.
I want to go through all her little drawers and see what she has.
I'll bet. That's so fun about getting to know people that have the same passions. I mean, as artists, we're all connected anyway, because we love to create and we love to create in different ways. But we also have all of these other connections kind of in between, that I think are really fascinating. So I love that about the Artburst community. So, okay, I'm ready. Are you guys ready to see a couple teasers of Nina's work?
All right. So this is Tale Series 217. And you'll see little bits of, I call them polka dots, but what you are seeing is vintage handkerchiefs.
Oh,
So
oh,
that's fabric, and you can see seed beads in there. All
yeah.
my edges are hand stitched, and there's always part flowers that are hand stitched too.
Is this created on fabric or is this created on paper?
So you are seeing multiple layers. So watercolor paper and tracing paper. And then I have collage, figures, paint, vintage pieces of fabric. And then when all the images are done, I put cold wax between the layers, pull the top layer down, hand stitch it, beat it, and put more cold wax. And
Oh
so
my,
what you're seeing is this final piece of paper that kind of feels like it's fabric. It kind of feels like it's vellum. The surface is wrinkled and it has this waxy depth.
yes.
Um, so now that I'm displaying them on paper and in frames, to me they kind of look like Shinkalei in printmaking,
Yeah.
where you're just not quite sure what's happening. But if you can see, the edges are not quite sitting flat, and I like that.
Yes. Adds to the story for sure.
So, and it's also the words, like I said, you like here's a word halo here, and the text is right here. It can be pretty subtle, but then once you see the words, it's hard to not see it anymore.
Yes.
So this one is the handwritten text says, "I'm here to support you," and the type text says underneath.
Oh, beautiful. All the different mixed media elements make me want to see your work in person. That's what Kate says.
When I look at a lot of art, I tend to stand back. Like I think that's how you get this bigger, bolder impression usually. And with my work, really the closer you get, the more you see to it. So this one is Story Series 156.
That's amazing.
So you stand back and you kind of get like the impression of what's going on. But when you're close, you can see all the little seed beads. The text starts popping out. You can see the frayed bits of the handkerchief. And this one, the handwritten text says, "Shaking it all loose." And the type text says, "Break free."
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. I hope that in your artist notes you have put what the messages are in there.
I did. I find it really interesting when people look at my work. A lot of people don't even necessarily notice the text, which is fine. But once they do, it's hard to not see it, like, or to even feel it. Like it's kind of prominent once you find the text.
Yes, yes. Now, Nina, is there anything else you would like to tell us about you and your work that we may not have covered today?
Actually, one thing I guess you'll notice in all my pieces, I've titled them like Story Series and a number, Tale Series and a number. And what I've done is I decided when I first started this year, like how I was painting this way, that I wasn't going to title anything. And really, I was going to label it more kind of like a print, because I think I didn't want to take away from the importance of the text inside the painting. So story series really just refers to the size of the painting. So that's 8 by 6. Tale series is the smaller series, and that's 7 by 5. So you can see by the numbers the progression of where I am in creating them.
Nice, nice. That's great information to have, I think, because I was kind of curious about that. And every artist approaches, telling people about their work in a different way so that the viewers can take something unique away from each piece. So, Nina, thank you for joining us this morning. It's been a real honor and a real pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Well, oh my gosh, what a way to spend a Saturday morning. I don't know about you, but I'm always inspired, and every single one of these artists is unique in how they approach their art, what their art represents, but all of their artwork tells a story. Whether you step into one of Kate's paintings, look at all of the details of Dariana's or Nina's words. There is something for everybody. What I've discovered, I think, over the years is that not every piece is my piece, but my pieces are out there that these stories hit at different points and times. And so these are 3 of the 20 artists that will be in our upcoming show. And we know that you're bound to find some amazing treasures there. So don't forget, the show opens on June 19th at 10 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time on artburststudios.com. We are so honored to bring these amazing artists to you. We will have almost 200 pieces of original art. And so we're really excited that you could join us this morning. If you want to meet all of the artists in the show, go ahead and click through to the show page on Artburst Studios. You will find all of the bios, some really fun facts about each one of them, things that you may not otherwise know. And again, all of their links are on there. Visit their website. You'll get a real sense of who they are and what they're about. Subscribe on their newsletters, follow them on social media. And then, of course, don't forget to follow Artburst on all of those things as well, so that you have an opportunity to learn about the shows, so you can come and visit us every time we feature beautiful artists. So thank you for joining us today. Special thanks to all of the artists, and we hope to see you in a few weeks.